Hi everyone, this is Liz with Edmund Designs, and today I am going to talk about the phobia of dolls as well as the phobia of other things that are close to dolls, essentially just something trying to represent a human that's not human. So, the reason why I bring this up as a doll maker is that I actually grew up with someone who has this phobia, and we're still best friends, and to this day he still has it. So this is different than just having a childhood fear of porcelain dolls, like the idea that they're haunted, or perhaps your kid has issues with claymation like mine does. Typically, kids grow out of it, and that is a slight fear that is culturally instilled in them. So, the actual phobia is called pediophobia, which is the fear of dolls. That is just for the dolls. The fear of the additional um, objects is automatonophobia, which is the fear of anything that's presenting itself to be human and it's not. So that would be like very human looking robots, puppets, wax figures, mannequins. And I find that my friends actually extends into false hair. So his issue sometimes wasn't so much with the dolls, it was with the fake hair. So that included My Little Ponies, like the ones that actually have like the hair that's not made out of plastic. Um, it now now into adulthood, it applies to things like false eyelashes. Not so much a phobia, just like an aversion to false eyelashes, hair extensions. So, for example, when I got married, I didn't tell him that I had extensions in my hair because he wouldn't like he would have had an aversion to it. He wouldn't have like freaked out majorly. And we lived far enough apart. It wasn't like he was gonna notice all of a sudden that my hair got like longer. So I just didn't tell him. And if I know that I'm going, like, I don't tell him if I'm wearing false eyelashes, or I just don't wear them when I'm around him. So this is something that, like, in the news recently, like, you might have heard of something called the uncanny valley, which was a term that was coined in the 1970s by a Japanese robotist named Masahiro Mori. I'm probably butchering it. But the uncanny valley came up when the Sonic movie came out, and everybody was like, "No, we don't like that depiction of Sonic where he had like the really realistic looking teeth and the Steve Buscemi eyes." And everybody freaked out, and that's when more people were learning about the uncanny valley, that something that is too close to being human that isn't human or shouldn't be, and it makes us uncomfortable. And so it's that feeling that we get is where that term comes from. So you can experience, anybody can experience the uncanny valley and still not have this particular phobia. Um, so I find that, like, for my friend, there's movies out there that you wouldn't necessarily think of being an issue for somebody if you just said, oh, they're scared of dolls or they're scared of mannequins. That you think of, oh, well, Chucky, Annabelle, things like that. Um, but there are movies like Lars and the Real Girl, where he Ryan Gosling like is in love or attached to a sex doll. AI, Mannequin, which was an 80s movie. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but a mannequin she comes to life, and um, I don't remember all about the movie, just like I think the guy doesn't know that she's a mannequin and he falls in love with her and blah blah blah. The Muppets. So when I was growing up, we had a church group that did puppets. And but they weren't like, I mean, they were cartoonish. I mean, they weren't like ventriloquist realistic or whatever. And my friend was actually part of it. Of course, he's not looking at them, but I mean, it didn't seem to be a problem just because of like how unrealistic they were. And I don't know how far his phobia like goes into puppetry, but we did puppets, and he didn't have an issue. Um, so I found one actor with this phobia, with the pediophobia, which is just the fear of dolls, and that is Channing Tatum. So I will link the video below. They showed it on Ellen. Unfortunately, like, I mean, Ellen found out, so she brought porcelain, it's specific to porcelain dolls for him, and so she brought them out to like show that he's scared of them, which, like, that's funny, but I also think it's kind of shitty, you know, because being an arachnophobic, like if I was, you know, somebody brings out a spider, you know, I mean, my friend and I don't do stuff like that to each other anymore. um, so the one example though of a time that I mean, when we were growing up, he didn't like being at my house because he knew I had a porcelain doll collection, and just knowing that I had a room with a closed door and there were a ton of porcelain dolls in there freaked him out. But about 10, it's been about 10 years ago, I went up to visit. He lives in Wisconsin. I went up to visit, and I wanted to see the House on the Rock again because I hadn't been there since I was a kid. And, or no, actually, I had been recently. My husband and I had gone up, and I really liked it. And I thought, oh, he's like really, really gonna like this. This would be super cool to do. So when I went up to visit, it's in Spring Green, Wisconsin. And it's this, if you haven't heard of it, the House on the Rock is this, like, it was this eclectic guy, Alex Jordan, started it in 1945. It started with his house. He built it. He was a huge collector. So there's like just like rooms dedicated to these collections, and so there's one room which is all of these automated musical instruments. I know there's a specific word for that. I just can't think of it right now. But like the pianos that play themselves, and but it was beyond that. It was just like every instrument that you can think of, and there are, oh my goodness, just it's insane the amount of collection. So it starts with the main house, and then there is the gatehouse and the mill house. And I knew there were dolls there. There are specific rooms dedicated. There is the dollhouse room, and then there is the doll carousel, and it just has like tons of porcelain dolls. But I knew those didn't come until the third part of the tour. They're separate. Like you can pay to just do part 1 and 2, or you can do all 3 of them. So I knew that didn't come till later, and I thought, okay, we're gonna be good. But being somebody that doesn't have this phobia, it didn't occur, like there were things that didn't occur to me or things that didn't click. And so we got to what's the world's largest indoor carousel. And so it has like, it doesn't have any horses on it, which is kind of funny. It's all carved animals, and even some like, I think there's a couple that are like more like minotaur like kind of things, but um like half human, whatever. But that wasn't the part that I miscalculated. We got to that room, and I thought we would be able to exit before then, and I looked up, and there are like angels, but they're like mannequin angels all over the ceiling, and there are like, oh good god, there has to be like 50 to 100 of them, and I'm like, oh no, don't look up. Um, there's an exit over there, but we had to cross through the room, and I'm like, just close your eyes, I'll lead you through. So that's the one time, that I like, since we've been adults, that I totally forgot. We kind of, even the score afterwards, he took me to an underground cave, and I'm super claustrophobic, and I took one for the team because I seriously owed him. Um, but for the most part, I'm usually pretty good about not sending him like memes or like movie recommendations. Occasionally there is something that it just doesn't register. So what does that mean for my dolls? He doesn't have an issue with any of my dolls. He likes them. He thinks that they're really cool. I send him pictures of what I'm working on, and it's not just because they don't have faces, the ones that I've done with faces. It's just that they're not extremely realistic and human looking. So it's never been a problem, which was something that initially surprised me. But I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years, and he's never had an issue with anything that I've sent or, shown him. So, anyways, yeah, that's just something that I thought I would share, to kind of like maybe entertain you guys today. And that's totally in my wheelhouse, doing dolls. So, like I said, I will leave a couple links below, like some more information, like some articles, the Channing Tatum thing. And I hope you guys are keeping well and entertained. So, you guys have a good day. Bye.